Canadian Cancer Society apologizes for not referring to cervix as a front hole. This is insanity, folks. This is where we are with the English language. The Canadian Cancer Society said many transgender men and non-binary people disapprove of using words such as cervix. The CCS said in a memo obtained by True North on Wednesday, it was sorry for using the word cervix, as transgender men and non-binary people may prefer other words such as front hole. We recognize the limitations of words we've used while also acknowledging the need of simplicity. So, no, this is reverting back to the other article that we just went through. Now, this is what we should be showing the Marubo people. The end result of the internet is that morons will eventually take over, and we, for some reason, have to listen to them. Now, I'm not against calling a pussy a front hole, okay? I will make a hard stance, I will fucking dig my boots in the ground on that one, because it's hilarious. We are now going back to language that would be used in a frat house in the 2000s. This is where the whole Venn diagram starts to overlap when we're using language and be like, hey, look at this little front hole over here, And our language now is just like digressing rapidly to the point where it's confusing, It's confusing. Because this used to be considered like a derogatory term to say front hole. Now it's acceptable. And how it became acceptable is because we can't even figure out what a woman is, So we have to use these like masked words so that way we can describe somebody that particularly doesn't have a vagina. You know what I mean? Like, you shove your cock inside of you, and that's a front hole now. Because it's not a full, we can't use the word cervix. So you got front hole cancer? Is that what it is? How do you... I don't get it. We recognize the limitations of words we've used also while acknowledging the need for simplicity. Holy Christ. Said by CCS. Another reason we use words like cervix is to normalize the reality that men can have these body parts too. It started off by saying transgender and non-binary people encounter serious barriers to accessing healthcare and are less inclined than cisgender ones to have cancer screenings done. You mean to tell me you can't? So if you make a pussy, you can't get your front hole scanned for pussy cancer? Is that what I'm reading? Now, I'm not trying to be like deliberately transphobic here, okay? Or whatever that means. I'm just looking for an understanding. It started off by saying transgender and non-binary people encounter serious barriers to accessing healthcare. What's the healthcare? You can't walk in and are less inclined than cisgender to have cancer screenings. Like it's a odd world, isn't it? We're like, what the fuck are we doing? Is this some earthworm Jim type shit that we're on right now? Barriers that can make participating in, there's barriers in cancer screening challenging for people in the trans community include transphobia and discrimination, limited healthcare provider knowledge about issues affecting trans people such as gender dysphoria, a lack of trans-specific resources, and concerns about physical and emotional safety. So wouldn't the cancer be the thing to worry about? Isn't that like the main thing that you should be worried about? Instead, you got to walk in and be like, well, the cervix, and you'll be like, excuse me? Excuse me, it's a front hole. Okay, well, your front hole's fucking dying, okay? It's littered with cancer, and we can't tell if it's prostate, testicular, or cervix cancer. We like you. I don't know, the world of health, thankfully, and I'm not saying this because it's a trans issue, but thankfully, the Canadian government stepped forward and put in a program that could be very resourceful in the near future, and that is the MAIDS program. I can't imagine going through something like this and the doctor that isn't particularly, brushed up on the whole, what do we call it, says the wrong word might induce the cancer to spread. I don't fucking know, man. It's getting to be too much, isn't it? We want everybody has healthcare, don't they? In fact, I would almost argue that trans people have better healthcare, because you're able to go in and like get this it's quite the surgery. Whether you're putting one on or taking it off, it's quite the surgery. Let's be real. It's quite the practice to undergo. All right? So wouldn't we argue that they have more health care? I don't. And then the pills on top of it, like. Okay, here we go. We're getting into but getting screened for cancer is an important part of regular medical care for everyone, because the earlier cancer is found, the better the outcome and treatment options will be. If it said anyone with a cervix can get cervical cancer, almost all cervical cancer stem from HPV infection. If people's medical records indicate they are men, it pointed out they might not get cervical cancer screening reminders. In response, they should talk about their healthcare providers about screening. If people have a cervix and engage in sexual contact with anyone, they should start having routine pap tests once they turn 25 years old. They will need a pap test every 3 years, or as recommended by healthcare providers, whether or not they are taking testosterone. When you read something and you don't know where to quite go with it, like you read that, right? You read that, and your brain is supposed to comprehend everything that's said in there, right? This is an article. They're trying to educate us in some way, shape, or form, or like present their biasness in the article, whatever it is. Journalism is the decay of a structured society, in my mind. Because here, like, whether or not you're whatever you want to say about this, and I'm not trying to dance some fucking line here so that way I don't get canceled again. I'm just saying, like, it becomes, this dude came in with a vagina, has cervical cancer, taking testosterone. Isn't that just female bodybuilders? Haven't we been down this road already? Female bodybuilders. Isn't that what that is? Just juiced up ladies squeezing fucking guys' necks for, a couple extra bucks on the weekend so that way they can afford more chicken breasts. Isn't that what that is? Didn't we go down this path already?